The GED's Reasoning Through Language Arts (RLA) exam is a comprehensive test that assesses your reading and writing skills, crucial for effective communication in everyday life. This longest segment of the GED consists of approximately 46 questions spread over 150 minutes, or 2.5 hours, including a 10-minute break between sections. It covers reading comprehension, writing, grammar, and analytical reasoning through the examination of texts. The RLA exam isn't just about reading words on a page or writing sentences. It's about understanding the stories, ideas, and arguments those words convey, and expressing your own thoughts and analyses clearly and effectively. For instance, consider how we might use these skills in the real world. When you read a news article, you're not just passively absorbing information, you're critically analyzing the arguments, discerning bias, and evaluating sources. When you write an email to a colleague, you're carefully choosing your words to convey your message clearly and persuasively. These are the very skills the RLA exam aims to assess and develop. Now let's look at a quick example. Note that this is an example of multiple choice and not the essay. See the link in the description for our essay-based video. Imagine we're exploring the thoughts and feelings of Anne, a young girl who finds herself in a new home, uncertain of her welcome. Through her interactions, we learn about her desire to be called Cordelia, which she sees as a more elegant and romantic name than her own, revealing her longing for a sense of belonging and identity. Sample passage. Anne, newly arrived at what she hoped would be her forever home, stood awkwardly in the doorway, her gaze darting between Marilla and Matthew, the couple she was meant to live with. The confusion was palpable. They had expected a boy to help with farm work, not a girl with wild red hair and a suitcase too big for her. Anne's heart sank as she picked up on their disappointment, her dreams of finding a place where she belonged starting to crumble. She desperately blurted out a request. Could you call me Cordelia?" Her voice was a mix of hope and fear. To Anne, Cordelia wasn't just a name. It was a lifeline to an identity she yearned to embody, one full of elegance and romance, far removed from her reality as an orphan. This brief interaction sparks a series of emotional revelations and challenges for Anne as she navigates her new environment, seeking acceptance and a sense of identity. Question 1. Understanding character motivation. Consider Anne's request to be called Cordelia. What does this tell us about her? A. She dislikes her given name. B. She is trying to reinvent herself in a new place. C. She has a dislike for simple names. D. She prefers names that are not her own. Take a moment to think about what Anne's request reveals about her motivations and desires. Pause the video while you ponder this question. Correct answer: B. She is trying to reinvent herself in a new place. Explanation: Anne's request to be called Cordelia signifies her desire for reinvention and to distance herself from the negative aspects of her past. Unlike the other options, which either focus too narrowly on her dislike for her own name or suggest a preference for other names without deeper context, option B captures the essence of Anne's motivation. She sees this new name as an opportunity to start afresh, embodying qualities she admires and perhaps has always yearned for, a sense of elegance, belonging, and identity beyond the confines of her orphan status. This question and its answer tap into critical reading skills, requiring the test taker to infer Anne's internal motivations from her actions and words, a key competency for the GED's Reasoning Through Language Arts (RLA) exam. It demonstrates an understanding that goes beyond literal comprehension to grasp the character's deeper desires and fears. Now, if you got any questions wrong here, let's examine the choices together. If you picked A, she dislikes her given name, it's understandable because she does express a preference for Cordelia. However, the core reason isn't a simple dislike, but a deeper desire for an identity she perceives as more elegant and aligned with her imaginative view of herself. Thus, while dislike is part of the picture, it doesn't fully capture her motivations. If you leaned towards C, she has a dislike for simple names. It's important to remember the essence of Anne's request. It's not about a general preference against simplicity in names, but about seeking a name that embodies the elegance and romantic quality she aspires to. Anne's choice reflects her imaginative and romantic nature, not just a dislike for simplicity. And considering D, she prefers names that are not her own. This choice might seem logical at first glance because Anne indeed expresses a desire to be called by another name. However, this perspective misses the deeper layer of Anne's wish. She doesn't just prefer any name that isn't hers. She's drawn to Cordelia for its elegance and the identity it represents to her, a name that aligns with her romantic visions of herself. This is a reflection of her longing for a more poetic and meaningful existence rather than a mere preference for names other than her own. Now let's move on. Question 2. Analyzing the impact of setting on character. How does Anne's initial reception at her new home affect her emotions and actions? A. It reinforces her fears of not being wanted. B. It makes her indifferent to Marilla and Matthew's reactions. C. It encourages her to leave immediately. D. It has no impact on her. She remains cheerful. Consider how Anne's environment and the reactions of those around her shape her feelings and behavior. Pause the video to reflect on this. Correct answer. A. It reinforces her fears of not being wanted. Explanation. The initial reception Anne receives, marked by surprise and unspoken disappointment, directly impacts her feelings, amplifying her fears of rejection and not belonging. This answer choice is correct because it reflects an understanding of how the setting and reactions of Marilla and Matthew affect Anne's emotional state, leading to actions such as her request to be called by a different name. Unlike the other options, which either misinterpret Anne's reactions or underestimate the significance of the setting on her emotions, Option A accurately captures the connection between external factors and internal response. This analysis requires the ability to empathize with the character and understand the psychological impact of one's environment, a crucial skill in both the RLA section and real-world interpersonal relations. Let's brainstorm the other answer choices. If you choose A, it reinforces her fears of not being wanted. This is actually the correct answer due to the immediate and visible disappointment from Marilla and Matthew, underscoring her fears of rejection. So no need to reconsider this one. If B, it makes her indifferent to Marilla and Matthew's reactions was tempting, it overlooks Anne's sensitive and emotional nature. The narrative shows that Anne is deeply affected by their reactions, far from indifferent. Her response to their initial disappointment is filled with emotion, directly contradicting indifference. Considering C, it encourages her to leave immediately could make sense if you focus on Anne's distress. However, the story shows Anne's resilience and willingness to address the situation rather than flee it. Her reaction is more about confronting the emotional impact, not escaping. And D, it has no impact on her. She remains cheerful can't fit because the passage vividly describes Anne's distress. Her optimism and imagination are key traits, but they don't shield her from the pain of rejection she feels upon arrival. Question 3. Inferring themes and messages. What themes about acceptance and identity can be drawn from Anne's experiences? A. Identity can only be shaped by oneself, not by others. B. Seeking acceptance often leads to changing one's identity. C. Names hold power over one's perception of identity. D. Acceptance and identity are intertwined, influencing how one navigates their environment. Look beyond the immediate events of the story to consider what broader messages and themes the author might be conveying about human nature and society. Take a moment to pause and think about this question. Correct answer, D. Acceptance and identity are intertwined, influencing how one navigates their environment. Explanation. Anne's story, particularly her request for a new name and her reaction to the initial reception, highlights the deep connection between acceptance by others and the formation of one's identity. This theme is central to Anne's experiences and reflects a broader societal commentary on how individuals seek to find their place and define themselves within the constraints of social acceptance. The other options offer partial insights, but fail to capture the comprehensive relationship between acceptance and identity as depicted in the narrative. Option D is correct because it encapsulates the nuanced interplay between seeking acceptance and the quest for a personal identity, which Anne navigates throughout her journey. This answer demonstrates an ability to synthesize information from the text and draw broader thematic conclusions, a skill that is invaluable for the analytical reasoning component of the GED RLA exam. If A, identity can only be shaped by oneself, not by others seemed right, remember that Anne's actions show she's influenced by others' perceptions. She seeks a name that reflects how she wants to be seen, suggesting interaction between self-perception and others' views. Choosing B, seeking acceptance often leads to changing one's identity, might sound accurate. However, Anne's quest for Cordelia is less about changing her fundamental identity and more about aligning her name with the grander, more romantic aspects of her personality she values. It's enhancement, not change. And if C, names hold power over one's perception of identity, caught your eye, it's partly true. Anne does believe Cordelia has a more elegant ring to it. Yet, this choice doesn't fully encompass the intertwined nature of acceptance and identity. Anne experiences, making it a partial truth in this context. Discussing why certain answers don't fit helps us appreciate the depth of Anne's character and her situation. It's not just about the immediate context, but understanding her emotional landscape and how she navigates her new environment with resilience and hope. Each of these questions peels back the layers of Anne's story, encouraging critical thinking and empathy as we explore the themes of acceptance, identity, and the impact of our environment on who we are.